everyone, welcome to our Spooky Pom-Pom tutorial video for your library kit. I'm so glad you could join us today. If you are following along without a kit, or if you want to double check and make sure your kit has everything, you will need one black pipe cleaner, one green pipe cleaner or a half of one, orange, white, and black yarn. Your orange, white, and black yarn is probably all together, so I recommend separating that out and untangling it before you start. That's going to make this project a lot easier if you're not trying to untangle it as you go. So let's get started. I think we're going to put our black yarn aside because even though the spider is really cool, and I'm going to show you how to make it and make the legs, unfortunately the black yarn is really hard to see. So I'll do the demonstrations with the orange yarn, which is going to end up pretty much the same as the black yarn, and the white yarn for the ghost. So for your pumpkin, the first thing you're going to do is find the end of your orange yarn. You're going to take 2 or 3 fingers and you're going to start wrapping your orange yarn around them. Now, it's very tempting to pull this super tight and crunch up your fingers, and if you do that, you're going to end up with a teeny tiny little pom-pom that doesn't look very cool. So I recommend keeping your fingers kind of loose and a little bit distance apart as you start, at least. And then even if they drift closer together, you're still going to end up with a nice size pom-pom. You don't want to pull the thread tight. Just kind of wrap it nice and loose, nice and gentle with it. You don't have to yell at it to tell it what to do. It knows what to do, so you can just ask it. That's what one of my favorite pottery instructors ever told me, was you don't have to tell your craft materials what to do usually. You can just ask them. So once you've got it all the way wrapped around, keep one end kind of hanging off a little bit. You can see you've got a nice loop there. Doesn't look much like a pom-pom, but that's okay. So you take your one end, the end that you are almost done with. You can take the loop off of your fingers now. Keep one finger in the loops on one end just to keep it secure and make sure that you can find the middle. You find the center of your pom-pom, and this is where you want to pull tight. This is where you want to tell your yarn, please pull tight. So you wrap that around a few times, and then you take what you've wrapped, and you can see I've made a loop with the last wrap. I made it loose, and I tuck my yarn through it once, tuck my yarn through it twice, and pull tight, and that's gonna make a knot, and then I tie one more knot outside. Keep it nice and secure. All right, we are secure. And you can just leave that end hanging for now. And then you're going to take your pipe cleaner, your green one. You might not even need an entire half, but I like it. So you take this and you wrap it around the center where that orange yarn is. Cross it like that. And then twist, 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 twist until you've got your shorter end all twisted up and you've got a long end for your stem. I like to make my stem curly, and the way I do that is I wrap it around my finger a couple times. You could also wrap it around a pencil or a pen or a crayon. anything to give it that nice little spiral. That's cute. And now we're almost there. We're almost looking like a pumpkin. Grab your scissors, and these loops that you made while wrapping your yarn, you're going to take them and you're going to cut them in half. Make sure you cut all your loops. You don't want any loops left. Do that same thing on the other side. Cut your loops in half. And you're starting to get a pom-pom, but that looks kind of raggedy, right? So this is the part of pom-pom making that really makes it look good. And this part can be a little bit difficult, but it's really fun. So see how this is all kind of loose? First, fluff it up and make sure that your yarn is spreading out all the way around your sphere. And then, I missed a loop. If you missed, this is also a good time to check for any loops you missed. If you missed any, you can cut them open. And then we're going to trim it. So, see how some of my yarn is longer than the others? We're going to give our pom-pom a little haircut. And that's what's going to make it look more circular and like an actual ball or pumpkin instead of a bunch of yarn tied together. So I'm just kind of trimming it all down to about the same length, making sure that it's got a nice shape to it. Always, 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 while you're doing this, keep turning your pom-pom. If you only do this from one side, you'll end up with one side that looks really good. But since this is a ball, it has really no sides. So go from the bottom, go from the back, go from the front, go from side to side, go from the top, wherever you think it looks good. And you'll end up with a little bit of a mess. So it's best to do this where there is a trash can nearby. You can always put down a piece of paper to catch your little yarn bits. There we go. Trim you. All right, I like that. I like the way that looks. And there's my pumpkin pom-pom. Pretty easy, right? So your, sweep up these little bits. So that's the pumpkin. Pumpkin's done. The spider pom-pom, so I've already got this wrapped. It's going to be a little bit bigger. You make it the same way. You wrap it around a couple fingers. I'm going to tie off the middle, and I'm so sorry. This is so hard to see. Because it is all black, and my camera does not like all black. But I've done the exact same thing I did with the orange pom-pom, wrapped it around my fingers, tied it in the middle to make that figure 8. And now I'm going to take my pipe cleaner, and spiders have 8 legs, so we need to end up with 4 strips of pipe cleaner. Actually, wait, you shouldn't have 1 pipe cleaner, you should have 2. I'm gonna grab a second. So you cut your 2 pipe cleaners in half to end up with 4. And that will give you, if you hold them in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs. You take your 8 legs, you wrap them around the middle of your spider. and twist them just like you did your stem, not too many times. And then you fan them out. This is so hard to see. You fan them out so that you've got 4 legs on each side. You can also bend the ends a little bit so that your spider has feet. You can tell I wasn't super careful about making these the same length, so I have some legs that are really long and some that are really short. You can decide whether that's how you want your spider to be. There you go, you can see the legs all bent. And then we're going to do the same cutting and trimming process that we did with our pumpkin. We're going to take our scissors and cut our loops. And the spider, I made the loops bigger, so I'm actually going to cut it down a little bit more this time. Make sure you're fluffing it as you're trimming so that everything kind of sits nicely. I'm going to make these extra short because I want my legs to show. If you make your legs a little bit longer and more even than I made mine, you won't have as much trouble making the legs show. But I'm going to trim down my spider actually pretty small. The other thing you can do, because I've got to tell you guys, I am not loving the way this looks. If your spider legs are super short, you can, instead of wrapping them around the center, here's a little bit, this way is a little bit harder, but it's a little bit neater too. So where you wrapped your yarn around the middle of your pom-pom to tie it off in the center, instead of wrapping these, you can just tuck them underneath that center yarn. Slide it right through. It's going to be a little bit hard to do because the tip of the pipe cleaner is going to want to get caught on your yarn. But I'm going to slide it through. There we go. And now I have a longer pair of legs. And I'll do that with the other 3. I'm just going to do 2 for now. I'll do all 3. I'm changing my decisions, which is the fun part about crafting. You get to change your decisions if they're not working out. 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, that's a little bit of a harder technique, sliding them under that loop in the middle, but it looks pretty cool. Spread out his legs again, make sure he has his little feet, flip up his body, give my spider a little bit more of a haircut. He's a hairy spider. Yeah. Creepy, creepy, creepy. All right. And there you have one spider pom-pom. And you could also, if you have extra white yarn, you could make him or her a little web out of white yarn and stick him in it. That would look really cool. Or you can put him on the table like that, let him run around. And because there's metal in the pipe cleaners, I don't know if you can hear it, but it makes an awesome little clicky noise when you run him across the table. All right, so that was our spider and our pumpkin. Very similar techniques, just a little bit different with the pipe cleaners to make them look a little different. Let's sweep up our black bits. These get really fuzzy. All right. And now for our ghost. Instead of making our ghost with a pom-pom, we're actually going to make what's called a tassel. You might want to use your hand for this, or you can also use a small box or a small book. It's up to you. So you take your yarn, if you're using your hand, and you put it around, and you wrap it around the same way that you did for your spider and your pumpkin, but I'm leaving mine a little bit extra long. I want my loops to be about 4 to 6 inches long. That's how big your ghost is going to be. So this is the other way you can do it. You put it between 2 fingers and you just kind of roll them. But you can wrap it around your hand, you can wrap it around a book. Doing it this way tends to get a little longer over time, which I don't mind. I like a tall ghost. But if you want to make more than one ghost from your yarn in your bag, you might want to use something like your hand. And you'll also get this end flopping around a lot. Don't worry about it. Just loop it back in. So that's how I'm doing it with my hand. I'm just making loops. Doo-doo, doo-doo. All right. So I have got my longer loop. Got my 2 ends hanging down. I'm going to grab both ends this time out of my loop. And I'm going to take both of them. I'm going to let my loop close up. And an 1.5 or 2 inches down from the top, that's where I'm going to wrap it. I'm not going to wrap this one in the middle. We're making our ghost's head, and then the part that hangs down will be the body. So you want to make one end shorter than the other. And then you tie off your ends there. Ta-da! You can start to see our ghosty already. Now, there are different opinions for how to do this. Some people make the head into like a pom-pom style, and I'm going to do it that way. You can also, if you have it looped, you can leave it like this and have this be your ghost's face. You can add little eyes there if you want. Here, let's put some testers on. Put some eyes on him. Glue some extra yarn onto it from your spider. That's fun. But I'm gonna snip, snip, snip all of these ends, and then I'm going to trim them down just like I did for our other spooky friends and fluff them out. That may have been a mistake. I may not have used enough yarn. Good news. We can fix this. So I'm going to slide my loops, my tying closed loops off that end. And we're going to take this end, and because my loops aren't as even on this end, I'm going to fold it over again. And that will also make the head bigger. Take my piece of white yarn that I trimmed off, Wrap it around, 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 around to create the ghost's neck. And voila, you can trim any loops that you've got in the back from folding that over. There you go. And you've got a little ghosty. If you want your ghost to have arms, you can take 3 strands of yarn from one side and 3 from the other, and you can braid those. So you go over into the middle, over into the middle, braid them up. And when it's about as long as you want your arm to be, you tie a knot, and the knot becomes the ghost's hand. Trim your ends short there. Ta-da! Ghost with one arm. And then you can do a second arm this way. And you've got your ghost. So these guys, your ghost, your spider, and your pumpkin, you can use them as ornaments, you can use them as decorations. I've seen people get extra yarn and make a bunch of these and turn them into a banner or a garland. That would be really cool for Halloween. I hope you enjoy making them. I hope you enjoy making this kind of mess with all your yarn. And I hope I will see you next week. Bye!